Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin and Cardano. We're going to take a look at the charts, start with Bitcoin, only a brief update. What you can see here, we continue to be in this sort of sideways move, but also you could probably understand it as a triangle here. One side of the triangle, we only have 2 touch points so far. But if this is a valid triangle with a support line down here currently at 46.6, then if that breaks here, I would rather, well, it is difficult to say what to expect now because the market is really just moving sideways. But normally you would expect it to break to the downside because it is a symmetrical triangle. And normally those symmetrical triangles, they generally break, or they more often than not break to the direction, to the downside, if the triangle consolidation already follows a strong downtrend, which in this case it did. So it did come down from all the way up here at around 57k, dropped below the 53k level that I told you back then, that after 53k we can expect quite a lot of a drop to the downside. And yeah, that did happen, and now we are sort of in this triangle formation moving towards the apex here. That might still be a few days away actually. Currently also, if we can take a look at the Bollinger Bands here on the 4-hour chart, you can see those blue lines. They are getting tighter and tighter, restricting the Bitcoin price as well. And it's always when you see these Bollinger Bands get tighter and tighter, then this is usually followed by a huge move. We had, if I zoom in here, yeah, so when we had this period where the Bollinger Bands on the 4-hour chart here became really tight, that was a couple of weeks ago. After that you had the big drop. Yeah, so it normally is when you really get these this squeeze of the Bollinger Bands here as well. Yeah, they got very tight here. That was the middle of November, and then we had a huge move to the downside. Also here you saw them get very tight. That was beginning of November, huge move to the upside. So it's normally when you can see them really getting tighter and tighter that this is usually followed by a larger move. Now they are getting tighter in my view, but not as much as they did before. So I think we need to be a little bit more patient about what Bitcoin is going to do, because at the moment, to be honest, both scenarios that I explained in my previous videos, they are both at the moment very likely. There is no, it's basically still 50-50, even though, if we take a look at this triangle, yes, we could say it's probably dropping to the downside, but in the end, with such a technical formation, you never really know. You only know when the breakout happens. And if we take a look at the breakout points today, if it broke out today, we would see a drop below 46.7k, and to the upside we would need to get above 50.1k. yeah, then we are breaking out of this formation, and then it would be likely, more likely either way. If we break out to the upside, that scenario where we'll come into this yellow target area will become more likely, and to the downside, then this scenario that I told you earlier today, where we would first of all test the support, the previous support here just below 42k, where we dropped in this flash crash, and reached that level. And then I would expect this to break and get to levels around 38k after the drop, if we break here to the downside. That's about Bitcoin. You know that where my target level lies anyway. At the moment, yes, it is sort of up or down, but very clearly, even if we go up into this target area up here, after that I would expect a drop to the downside. So both scenarios will end below 30k. That is my view. ABC, we are in a larger correction that started back in April. That's been my concern since September, when we started to move up here. And yeah, it seems to be playing out at the moment. I think this is, as we dropped below 53k, this is becoming much more likely. And there is still a chance that we could eventually break out to the upside here and get to new all-time highs, and that everything I've talked about is really rubbish. But that probability, I would really give that only like a 15% maybe. Just sort of it is not very likely. That's my view. There is nothing, I can't see anything bullish here at the moment really. And also what I showed you in previous videos on the weekly, the MACD for Bitcoin is falling, had a bearish cross, and if it's falling from there, going to fall further, and I think it will, then we do have quite a bit of scope to the downside still. Yeah, that's where we are at the moment on Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Cardano. So Cardano continues to find support here at this orange support line, this ascending support line that is coming up and that has been coming up, well, since 2021, really. We've been in this sort of uptrend, yeah, and yeah, it's difficult to call it an uptrend at the moment, but we've come up from here, moved up to, you know, and it's providing support now. This ascending support line has provided support at around $1 and is now obviously going up. It was also below $1. It did provide support. So yeah, the $1 mark is important, but also this support line did provide support going forward, you know, in the past. And this is sitting currently at just above 120 now. So this is important, but also the 0.887 fib level at 125. So we are just above that at the moment, and this is providing strong support at the moment. I would expect, though, with what I've just talked about, Bitcoin still, that we will drop below this, oops, what did I do here? That we will drop below this ascending trend line once more. And also I would expect that we are retesting the $1. I do hope, I really sincerely hope, though, that the $1 line will hold. I think it's a very important line. If we drop below that, any recovery would take longer. I mean, as per here, the Elliott Wave count, we are still in a wave 2 within a larger wave 3. So the move after that would really be an impulsive move to the upside if it plays out, but we shouldn't drop below $1. If we drop below $1, that would be finally invalidated. And I think, to be honest, I think it would have all played out very nicely, but the problem is that the timing of Cardano's wave formation here is just bad, because the recovery, the pump started earlier, and also the retracement started much earlier. So this current downtrend started much earlier, and we've already hit now key levels. The 0.887 fib at 125 is a level that many altcoins especially come back to, especially here in a wave 2. We've seen that across the board now. But you know, with Bitcoin dropping further, it is really hard to say. It's really hard to say. Normally, I would have, you know, that I would have expected a turnaround in this target area here. But now with Bitcoin pushing down, ADA is, you know, suffering as well. And the good thing is, though, that the indicators are just completely different to Bitcoin. We're already at a much lower price level. You know, on the RSI on the daily, we're just oversold. Last time that happened, after that, it was followed by a pump. The MACD is also, we're probably going to see this bullish cross here. I did talk about it earlier today, and we're just seeing this probably maybe even playing out today or tomorrow. You can see how squeezed currently the price gets. We're at 125. I think we've been around 125 pretty much all day. The candle's getting smaller here. Look at the daily candle, it's tiny. So a breakout here is going to happen, in my view, very, very shortly. It's difficult to say, though, in which direction. But I hope for a break to the upside, but be assured that something is going to happen. A breakout is going to happen. We can have a look here at the Bollinger Bands as well that I showed you for Bitcoin. So let's just do that. Bollinger Bands, and we can also take a look at the Bollinger Bands width. So let's take a look at the Bollinger Bands first here for Cardano. And also we can see here, when it was consolidating all the time, it was getting smaller and smaller. Then we had a strong move to the downside, but they are not getting tighter at the moment because we are in this downtrend here, at least on the daily. Can't really see that getting smaller and tighter, but you can actually see it here on the 4-hour chart. Bit hard to see maybe, but you can see that we are getting squeezed a little bit now, but you know, we had it obviously a lot back here. That was beginning of December as well, where Bitcoin did quite a big move as well. So I think it's not really, based on the Bollinger Bands, you can't really estimate a breakout here at the moment. Bollinger Bands width, this obviously shows as an indicator the width of the Bollinger Bands. At the moment also not at a point where we did break out before. You can actually use, did mention that before, the Bollinger Bands width indicator down here. If you can define here a maybe a resistance level, right? And if you break above that resistance level, that is normally followed by a strong push to the upside. So in this case, it would be at 0.2. Yeah, here on the Bollinger Bands width indicator. At 0.2, if we broke above 0.2, and you can see that here, if I draw a line there, above 0.2 on the Bollinger Bands width indicator, you had massive breakouts here. So you had a big breakout here, had a big breakout here. That's on the 4-hour chart. So we could do the same maybe on the 8-hour. It might look different there though. So that's how you can actually more objectively also identify breakout points, yeah, because patterns and everything is very subjective, but you have these indicators here. You can clearly see if you break below this line here, the 0.32 on the 8-hour, then you had massive breakouts before. If we manage to get above this level here, yeah. So there you can play around with that a little bit. At the moment, for example, on the 8-hour chart, we're still quite far away from that. We attempted here breakout to the upside. That was around the 7th of December. So yeah, at the moment, very, very interesting, because we are sort of holding here this 125 level. Really interesting next few hours this will become, because we can't always stay at 125. So there is something that's coiling up here for Cardano, I think. So yeah, hopefully let's hope that bullish crossover is going to play out nicely to the upside. But we don't know. You know, it's a difficult situation for Cardano overall. Because the downtrend is not really slowing down at the moment. Yes, finding good support here at 125, and 120. But yeah, it just needs that turnaround moment now, and the bulls really need to power in. So yeah, hopefully you liked the update video about Cardano. If you did, please smash the like button and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.